Welcome to the 15-Minute Financial Feast podcast, bringing you 15-minute segments to help you retire with purpose on time. We're serving up food for thought and bread for the head. Are you hungry to learn? Here are your hosts, Mark Triplett and Troy Westendorf.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of 15-Minute Financial Feast. My name is Mark Triplett.
And I'm Troy Westendorf.
We are going to be bringing you some food for thought, a little bread for the head. Are you hungry, Troy?
I'm hungry, and it's not even lunchtime.
Oh, boy. Today we're going to be covering something different than what we typically do. Instead of a financial-related topic, we're going to talk a little bit more about 7 decisions that determine personal success. And this is actually... these 7 decisions were crafted by a gentleman named Andy Andrews, which you turned me on to quite a while ago.
Yeah.
You had given me a gift, one of his books, which is one of my favorite books I've ever received. And this particular section or this particular podcast is really going to be about these 7 decisions that, you know, if we just think introspectively and we apply these to our lives, we'll probably have much more success in life and be happier people. So, Troy, because this is kind of your baby, and you're much more familiar with Mr. Andrews. And you haven't seen him in live, in concert.
I've seen him in live a couple times.
So I'm going to let you kind of roll with this and kind of explain a little bit more about who he is, and then we'll get into those 7 different decisions that determine personal success.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. I got turned on to Andy probably about 10 years ago, and I've seen a couple live events, and he's kind of a unique guy. But really, when he starts to think about things, he really has some profound thoughts on things, and he's actually had quite a few bestsellers on the several books that he's wrote. And the one we're going to talk about today is one of them, but just a little bit about him. So he's not your average success story. He was living a normal life, but at the age of 19, his parents died. So not one parent, but both parents. So his mom died of cancer. His father was then in an automobile accident. So he lost them both. He left college. This guy was homeless, penniless. He had nothing. He lived under, it was in people's garages at times, but at times he just lived in the Gulf Shores in Alabama under a pier. I mean, this guy was homeless, had nothing. So something amazing happened, though. At a turning point in his life, he befriended another grizzled old homeless person who gave him a remarkable gift, and this gift was a library card, which is crazy to me. So what he did, he actually became really interested in figuring out what makes people different, what makes them successful. Do they grow up successful? Are they born successful? So he actually wrote letters to famous, successful people and asked them that question: what makes you successful? And surprisingly, he got a lot of letters in return saying, here's what it is. So he started to go through all these things, and he went on a quest. And he got this guidance. He read more than 200 biographies on men and women that were successful. Just the things that he did is just amazing to me on what he did and the decisions that they made, critical junctures in their life, which led to their success. And that's what he got back from them. So how did they overcome the challenges? And to a surprise, when they started telling me these things, he started to take it in. Took several years, but actually got these 7 decisions that we're going to talk about today. So he distilled
all of these 200 biographies of successful people to these 7 commonalities, these 7 traits, these 7 decision-making processes that they all seem to embody.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And so the first one is be responsible. Be responsible and make a decision. And I love this one because he references President Harry Truman, and Harry Truman's little sign that he had on his desk says "The buck stops here." But there are a lot of folks today who want to point the finger at somebody else rather than take personal responsibility. And unfortunately, that doesn't lead to very good outcomes. Sometimes we just have to recognize that where we are is a reflection of all the choices we've made, compounded over time, and we can change that going forward. But we first have to acknowledge that we got ourselves here, and then we can be empowered to do something different going forward.
Absolutely. I hear that all the time. People thinking the circumstances around them that you can't make a change. You can absolutely make a change. Can't control circumstances sometimes, but you can absolutely make changes. Second one he has on here, Mark, is seek wisdom, which is awesome. Listen to the guidance that is offered from people that you can trust.
And sometimes that guidance comes from places that are unexpected. And
Correct.
I remember one of the books you shared with me, he tells a story about Napoleon and Napoleon's successful conquests, and then how he almost won the Battle of Waterloo, but all but one little error, in which he didn't listen to his troops, who said, "We can't go into battle without a bucket of nails." That seems really strange. Why would you need a bucket of nails? And I was shocked at this because I had no idea. This old timey warfare, back in in conquest Europe, where they're fighting each other, and the bucket of nails was necessary to block the firing holes of the British cannons. And so Napoleon's forces actually overwhelmed the British, took all of their guns, and would have driven them on.
Yep.
But then they got turned around and pushed back, and because they didn't have nails to prevent the firing holes in the British guns from being used, when the British took the guns back at near point blank range, they were able to push Napoleon's forces back. Just one little nail, just having listened to his troops saying, "We just need these nails," and everything, the whole outcome would have been different. The whole face of the world could have been different.
It's amazing.
Number 3, be a person of action. Seize the moment. I love the story of Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain that he tells in The Traveler's Gift. Hopefully I said that right, that book.
Traveler's Gift. Yep.
And he talks about Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain, a school teacher who's out of ammunition, overwhelming odds, and he leads a fixed bayonet charge down the hill at Gettysburg. I think it's Little Round Top, where he swings the gate, pushes them back, and overwhelms a force of rebel soldiers who are fully loaded. And because he made a quick snap decision to take action.
That is an awesome one too. I always wonder back in those days, like, seriously, the guy has a gun and you're gonna run at him with a bayonet. I mean, just the credible amount of courage it took those guys back then is amazing.
And it quite possibly turned the tide of the Civil War.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Number 4, Troy.
Have a decided heart. I love this one. Ignore rejection and let your passion be your guide. Talks a little bit about Joan of Arc here, a 17-year-old, when she led the armies of France against the English. The military leaders, you can imagine, they probably cringe at this point. A 17-year-old girl telling the military leaders what to do at this point. I can just see the cringe on their faces. But, she intended to do it regardless. So you're either going to follow me or you're not going to follow me. I'm going. And I won't be looking back is one of the things that she replied. And that, I think, is, even for us today, there's so many negative people out there that want to say, the minute you have a decided heart, they want to pound you with something else and try to reject it and try to make you feel like, oh, really, what a dumb idea that is. But just to see her and just say, you know what? You guys can do what you want to do. I'm going. I'm not looking back. And she went.
Often that rejection and negativity is a reflection of how they feel about themselves. When you start to make a decision and take action, particularly bold action, and folks who are close to you, family members, friends, see that, and they start to be naysayers and negative, it's not because they're angry or upset or resentful at you. It's because they're angry and resentful and upset at themselves for not having the courage that you do to take action and do something about it. Number 5, choose to be happy. Put a smile on your face. Gosh, I love this one. There are times when we don't feel like smiling. All of us have that issue. But if you put a smile on your face, you're likely to be chosen over others. People want to be around happy people. There's a saying, I'm sure you've heard this before, misery loves company. It is true. Miserable people love to be around other miserable people. Happy people love to be around other happy people. And if you have an opportunity in your life and there's 2 individuals, you and somebody else, and you're both seemingly qualified for that opportunity. You both look similar, similar height, dress the same, etc. All things being equal, and you put a smile on your face and you're happy and a joy to be around, and the other person is griping and whining and complaining, you're going to get chosen over the other person, because who wants to subject themselves to that torture unless they too are a miserable person?
Exactly.
And misery loves company, right?
Exactly.
So go ahead, number 6.
Funny. Number 6 is forgive. Forget about anger management. Use anger resolution. And I've taken several. Shouldn't say taken, but I've done several books and read on this anger and the gift of forgiveness and how hard it is for a lot of people. When you have that anger inside of you and you let it dwell and you're not letting go, how that does more damage to you than the other person that you might be angry with. So just that power of forgiveness. And, you talked about Joshua Chamberlain and that charge at Waterloo. Well, he was chosen by President Abraham Lincoln to accept the Confederate surrender. And there Chamberlain stunned the world with a show of forgiveness and respect. He ordered the troops' attention. I mean, can you imagine this after you're winning the battle? He's going in there, hey, I want the respect. He ordered his troops attention and gave them the respect that they deserved and the forgiveness that they needed to have.
Before we have any historians email us or call us, you said Waterloo. It's actually Gettysburg. So
okay.
Chamberlain led the famous charge at Gettysburg, not Waterloo, but we talked about both of those different battles in very different time periods. But anyway, so that aspect of forgiving is so important. Holding anger and resentment in your heart, it just taxes you mentally and physically. In fact, some studies have shown that it can actually lead to physical ailments.
Oh yeah,
it can drive your health into a dark corner. Just because of the thought process and the anger. So letting go of that and just forgiving people that have wronged you. There was a wise man once said, turn the other cheek. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. And it truly does free you to just forgive. It may not be easy. It doesn't mean you have to forget.
No, yeah, I think that's the big thing. You don't have to forget. It's just forgiving and letting go and moving on.
The last one on the list, persistence without exception. Basically never giving up.
I like this one. You think about never giving up. How many opportunities do you have throughout your life so far where you could have just said, you know what, I'm done. I'm giving up. I've had many.
Yeah.
Where it's like you just throw up your hands. I'm done. It's too hard. I've failed too many times, and whatever the case may be, you could just say, you know what, enough's enough, and be done.
Well, I would say for many of the folks we serve, they've overcome a lot, all different walks of life, but they haven't given up.
No,
and they stuck to, what was important to them. They didn't make exceptions and cry woe is me. They put their head down and just plowed through. Yeah, no different when we started Triplett-Westendorf Financial Group, years ago. It was tough. Early on, it was tough. We had to really scrape and struggle to get by, knowing that what we were doing was positive, knowing that what we were doing was going to change lives. Boy, there were times when we had to look at each other and go, "Oh man, this is rough." But we had to persist.
Some of those times, man.
Yeah, and we're excited to be where we are today to serve the folks that we serve, and it really is a blessing. So those are the 7 decisions that we wanted to share with you today from Andy Andrews. That's it for this week's show. Don't forget, you can be someone's superhero. Many folks are struggling to answer financial related questions during this difficult time, and you have the power to make a meaningful introduction. We usually charge $2,400 for our Purpose and Timeline retirement plan screening, and that extensive process that we go through to help people figure out where are they today relative to where they want to go. And we'll actually waive that when one of our valued clients introduces us to somebody who's important to them. So for this week, we just want to tell you to go out and serve others in an extraordinary way. I'm your host, Mark Triplett.
And I'm Troy Westendorf.
We're serving up bread for the head. Hopefully you learned something today. Every dollar has a purpose. Never forgive that.
And every dollar has a timeline.
Until next time, be sure you are taking steps to retire with purpose
and on time.
You've been listening to the 15-Minute Financial Feast podcast. Remember, every dollar has a purpose and every dollar has a timeline. If you have questions about today's topic, schedule a call with a team member. Visit www.mypt5.com. Until next time, be sure you're taking steps to retire with purpose on time. Mark Triplett is an investment advisor representative of and advisory services offered through Royal Fund Management, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Nothing contained in this program should be considered an offer to buy or sell securities. Different investments have different risks associated with them, and not all investments are appropriate for all investors.